Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I am ranking and discussing the 5 dumbest things that Pete Carroll and this Raiders coaching staff did against the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's the problem, though. There's a laundry list of dumb things that this staff continues to do week in and week out. So I want to know from you, what is the dumbest thing that Pete Carroll and this coaching staff did against the Kansas City Chiefs? There's 100 things that we could have put on this show. If I wanted to, the moment that game ended yesterday, I could have gone live with this topic, and we still could be talking about it. Coming in here at number 300, this is the 300 dumbest thing that Pete Carroll and this coaching staff did. I can't believe how badly this team is coached. I can't believe how bad this team is on paper. I can't believe how bad we are in every single aspect of the game. And when you are failing in the amount of areas that the Raiders are failing, yes, it is a player problem, but it is a larger coaching problem. From top to bottom, our coaching staff flipping sucks. So please, let me know what's the dumbest thing they did. Let's go to number 5 here on my top dumb moves against the Kansas City Chiefs. Only 6 Ashton Jeanty carries. You know, you can't help stupid, and I don't know if Chip Kelly is dumb, stupid, all of the above. I'm not sure what it is. And Kelly and probably everybody else on that coaching staff would probably create some sort of excuse. Because I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that this coaching staff is good at, it's pulling excuses out of their you-know-what. And I say that because Chip would probably look at me and Pete Carroll would probably look at me and they'd go, well, the game got out of hand. We couldn't really get it going the way that we wanted to get it going. Why did Ashton Jeanty only get 6 carries? I don't have a good answer for that. And if you're going to hit me with, oh, the game got out of hand, well, let's talk about the first drive. Let's talk about the first 2 drives. The first drive, 1 Jeanty carry and 5 Geno Smith passes. I should also really illustrate that technically the Raiders didn't run 6 plays on that first drive. There were some penalties, so what I'm saying is, like, even if the play got called back or got nullified, in my mind, the Raiders still had a play that they went up with. And in that first drive, it was 5 Geno throws, 1 Jeanty carry. So then the first 12 plays, okay? The first 12 plays, even if some of them got called back for, penalty against the Raiders, penalty against Kansas City, 1 Jeanty run in the first 12 plays. I'm sorry, Chip Kelly, but I don't understand how that is your game plan. And I don't understand, even in a game that, cool, we're down 14-0, cool, we're down 21-0, wouldn't it be smart for a coaching staff to go, all right, we don't look like we're going to win this game, but it's at least try to figure out how to get this ground game going. Let's at least try to figure out how to get Ashton Jeanty going. And instead of doing that, you just said, nah, let's just keep throwing the ball with Geno. 6 carries for Ashton Jeanty, 16 throws for Geno Smith. It doesn't make any sense. And if you think that this Raiders coaching staff is a joke, I want you to hit that subscribe button because welcome to the circus. Every single game day, you're going to be able to watch an unbelievable circus act by Pete Carroll, by Chip Kelly, by this entire Raiders coaching staff. But you know what? I know that I'm not the only one frustrated. I know that y'all are frustrated too. I like to say that I am the voice of Raider Nation, and I say that I'm the voice because we are the voice. The Raiders Report is a community. The Raiders Report has proven that we can get coaches fired. I know that Pete and John aren't getting fired. I know ain't nobody getting fired. Doesn't mean that we still can't be heard. Doesn't mean that we can't be loud. And if you watched our live show on Monday, there was a lot of loudness and a lot of screaming going on. Let's go to number 4 here of dumb moves that the Raiders did against the Kansas City Chiefs. Not playing your rookies. And, when I see things happen, I almost LOL and I laugh out loud. And before the game yesterday, I see the inactives come out, and Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Pegues, both a healthy scratch. Oh my God. I mean, all you can do is laugh. Because if I was sitting in the same room with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, Patrick Graham, John Spytek, whoever the flip is making these decisions, I would look at you dead in the face. I would. I would walk right up to you, Chip. I would walk right up to you, Pete, and go, you're a fucking moron because you're doing shit that doesn't make any sense. If we're not a good football team and we need to rebuild, doesn't it make sense to let your rookies play a little bit more? I mean, 88 total snaps from your rookies. You drafted 11 players. You drafted 11 players and only 88 total snaps. Now, most of those snaps are Dante Thornton Jr., Ashton Genty, and Jack Besh. 3 players. What about Darian Porter? He only got 12 snaps. That's dumb. Why not get more opportunities for some of these young guys if this is truly going to be a rebuild? And I'm not saying that I wanted to see Caleb Rogers out there and play, but you know what? If you're going to be an asshole and you're going to bench Jackson Powers-Johnson, I would rather you play Caleb Rogers, who was a rookie that you drafted in the 3rd round to go out and get, instead of continuously playing Alex Kappa, because I know what Alex Kappa is. Like, it's not even so much a we're losing standpoint. We're losing and doing really dumb flipping shit every single week. If we're going to do the rebuild, let the rookies play. Put them out there on the field. We're never going to get better, and your defense doesn't make any adjustments. You're not getting after the quarterback, so why not give your 2 rookies that you can help in the interior help go out and get after the quarterback? It makes absolutely, positively no sense. And this coaching staff does dumb things all the time. And I can't wait to do this show every week. And you know how I know I'm going to be able to do this show every week? Because our coaching staff does dumb shit every single week. I'm actually happy we can't lose this week. But Pete Carroll and this staff is bad enough, they might find a way to lose during the Raiders bye week. Coming up next here on the show, the top 3 dumbest moves by this coaching staff against the Kansas City Chiefs. I will get into this here in just a moment, but man, oh man. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day. Somehow we decided to root for the Raiders, and some decisions are good decisions. Some decisions also, though, can get you paid, and I don't want you to miss any of the excitement this season, and PrizePicks is going to help you really put some money in that pocket. You can pick, predict, play America's #1 fantasy sports app out there where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose a flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if your biggest payouts, if you're looking for the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So I'm looking right now at a lineup, and I'll be honest with you, this is not my lineup. I don't know whose it is. Maybe it's Chugs's. I don't know. Jackson Smith and Jigba, less than 83.5 receiving yards. I think this is definitely a Chugs PrizePicks lineup. Nico Collins, more than a touchdown. Sam Darnold, less than 229.5 passing yards. Bottom line is this: if you plan on watching Monday Night Football tonight, 2 games. If you plan on watching baseball, playoffs, right? If you plan on watching those games, get a lineup in and wait until you see how much more fun and entertaining it is to watch. So if anybody wants to roll with that lineup, or if you want to roll with any lineup this year, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Let's go to the 3rd dumbest move that this Raiders coaching staff did against the Kansas City Chiefs. You didn't bench Kai Blue Kelly. What's funny is not only did the Raiders not bench Kai Blue Kelly, but Pete Carroll had the audacity, and this is where I'm like, is Pete losing it? Is Pete cooked? Is Pete too old to coach the Raiders? And we all have that person in our life. I love my grandfather, the end of the world and back. But once he hit a certain age, you start to go, I don't know if he should drive anymore. Oh, man, I don't know if he should be a head coach anymore. And right now, Pete Carroll is at the point where he's making decisions on the football field that make me wonder, should he be driving a vehicle? I'm not even kidding you when I say that. Should Pete Carroll be allowed to drive a vehicle? Because he not only doubled down and said, Kai Blue Kelly played well last week, but he keeps on playing Kai Blue, who is arguably the worst cornerback in the National Football League. Quarterbacks up against him have a 124.7 quarterback rating. He has allowed the most receiving yards in the NFL And it's really actually not close, and teams pick on them every single week. You know what would be really cool, though? I mean, again, it's a lot easier said than done, but imagine if the Raiders would have drafted a cornerback, let's say, I don't know, in the top 3 rounds. Man, that would have been really cool. And imagine if that corner only has 1 year of experience playing corner. If I was a head coach and if I was a team, I would put the guy that's been terrible all season on the bench, who's played the most snaps at corner than anybody has on this team. And I would go out and I put the guy who's only got 1 year of cornerback experience, who we drafted in the 3rd round, who I also think is much more athletically gifted than Kai Blue Kelly in terms of upside. And I would do that in Darian Porter. Oh, wait, you did draft the guy in the 3rd round. Oh, wait, Darian Porter does only have 1 year. So, like, if you're trying to get these guys developed, why not actually do it the right way? And then, in the limited sample size that you've seen Darian Porter, if Pete Carroll, you can look at me, Pete, and you can tell me that you honestly think that Kai Blue Kelly has done a better job than Darian Porter in Porter's limited routes or limited snaps, I think it's time for you to hang it up, man, because it's not close, right? Like, if I were to show you this helmet, is this a Kansas City Chief helmet? Because, Pete, by you telling me Kai Blue Kelly is better than Darian Porter, this is like you looking at me going, that is a Kansas City Chief helmet. Delusional. It's absolute positive delusion. Let's go to the second dumbest move that the Raiders did up against the Kansas City Chiefs, the benching of Jackson Powers Johnson. I want to be very clear. I actually don't think that JPJ played a very good game this past game against Kansas City. Does anybody out there think anybody played well against the Kansas City Chiefs? I know I don't, right? I mean, you benched Jackson Powers Johnson in the 3rd quarter against Kansas City. What's frustrating about that is, though, you only benched JPJ. Like, if you're going to bench Jackson Powers Johnson, why don't you bench Dylan Parham, who also played bad? Why don't you bench Jordan Meredith, who also played bad? Why don't you bench, I don't know, anybody else that's also playing bad? No, you single out Jackson Powers Johnson all the time. And I think it's only a matter of time before him and his agent go, hey, man, clearly we're not wanted here. Let's just go somewhere else. But he played in only 25 snaps, 71% of the snaps. And I just think that the Raiders have something against them. I don't know if it's Pete Carroll. I don't know if it's Brennan Carroll. I don't know if it is Chip Kelly. But to me, Chip Kelly has said negative comments about Jackson Powers Johnson in front of the entire media. And if Chip Kelly has the balls, I guess, to talk negative about a player like JPJ in front of the media, imagine what some of that shit's going on behind closed doors. Like, I'm telling y'all this right now, there's a lot of Raiders players that do not like Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly is rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. But my biggest problem with the benching of Jackson Powers Johnson is you singled out JPJ. He wasn't the only guy playing bad. It's just another example of this Raiders regime has their guys. They have their guys, and their guys can do no wrong. They don't have to compete because there are guys. They can do whatever. But if you get put on the bad list, JPJ right now is kind of like the step kid. And I'm not trying to say out there, if you're a dad, if you got step kids, I hope that you treat them all the exact same. But, like, JPJ right now is like that redheaded stepchild that my friends and I used to always joke about, like, as a kid. Like, oh, you must be the redheaded stepchild. You must be the redheaded stepchild. Like, if you're red hair and you got and your stepchild, I'm sure that your parents love you very, very much. I'm just using an example that popped into my mind. But, like, can we all agree here that this coaching staff has a vendetta against JPJ? And I think the benching of Jackson Powers Johnson is really going to rub a lot of players in that locker room the wrong way, because when I was told this 2 weeks ago that there were some players that have this mindset that they're like, no matter what I do, it's not going to matter because the coaching staff loves its own players, I think the benching of JPJ is the ultimate proof of there's truth to those stories. So I got one more thing coming up here, but this is going to be a question that I'm going to ask y'all, and it's simple. I want you to either type trade or I want you to type keep JPJ. Will JPJ get traded by the Pete Carroll regime? What's very important about this is I'm not asking you right now. I'm not asking you this season. I'm asking you, Pete Carroll is with this team for the next 2 to 3 years. Does JPJ finish out his career with the Raiders? Type trade, type keep JPJ. My answer coming up here in just a moment. I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to go, if Pete Carroll is the Raiders head coach, I do not believe Jackson Powers Johnson will finish his career with the Raiders or will even finish his rookie contract with the Silver and Black. And I say that because I don't talk to Jackson Powers Johnson. I speak to people inside of his group. I'll leave it like that. And there is a growing frustration right now, not saying from JPJ, but people close to JPJ of being like, we're clearly not wanted here. And I'm just telling you, I don't think it's impossible that JPJ gets traded before the NFL trade deadline on November 4th. Let's go to the last and final dumb move here by Pete Carroll and this regime. Defending Geno Smith after the game. And the reason why this is the number one, the reason why this is the cherry on top, it's because Pete Carroll continues to defend Geno Smith over and over and over again. I don't understand how you can bench a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson. And don't get me wrong, Geno Smith did end up getting benched much, much later in the game. If you're going to bench JPJ the moment you did, you should have benched Geno Smith the moment you did. But what I have a hard time really wrapping my mind around is the plan or what these coaches stand for. And I think that you look at a game like 31-0, and it looks like players that were absolutely lost. And I think that this coaching staff also is lost in what their values are. What do you stand for? Like Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll, what do you stand for as men? What do you stand for as men? Because I don't understand how Pete Carroll can go up there to the podium and he can defend Geno Smith, talking about how, we didn't really get enough plays to get it going. The offense couldn't really get it clicking. And essentially puts all the blame on the defense not being able to get stops. And that's why Geno Smith, again, couldn't really get it going. But saying that it's limited play for Geno Smith, couldn't you make that exact same argument, though, about Jackson Powers Johnson, that there was a limited snaps and that prevented him from getting into his groove? You're taking, you're picking what you want and turning it into something. You are taking literally you're making an example of one player, but you're not making an example of another player. I mean, it's like if you had a kid, and if you saw a kid reach into the cookie jar, if Geno Smith were to reach into the cookie jar, Pete Carroll would go, Geno, cut that out. And if Jackson Powers Johnson were to put his hand in the cookie jar, Pete Carroll would be like, get your hand out of that cookie jar, Jackson. Go to your room. You're not eating dinner. You see the difference? And that's what Pete Carroll is doing. By standing up for Geno Smith, I'm telling you, it's going to divide that locker room, and there's already rumors that locker room is going to get divided. Geno Smith is lost in the Chip Kelly offense. And I think defending the Geno Smith play, it makes you look bad as coaches, and it makes every single player on that team doubt you because you're picking favorites. We're a bunch of grown men. This is supposed to be about commitment to excellence, supposed to be about compete. How am I supposed to buy into commitment to excellence and compete mentality when my own head coach is such a hypocrite that he doesn't even believe it? Exactly. So here are the top 5 dumbest moves that the Raiders did against the Kansas City Chiefs. The fact that Chip Kelly gave Ashton Genty only 6 carries and only 1 run in the first 12 plays, Chip Kelly sucks. Not playing your rookies. Why is Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Pegues healthy and active? Why is Darian Porter not playing over Kai Blue Kelly? Put him on the bench, guys. Why did you bench JPJ and only Jackson Powers Johnson? Clearly, you have something against them because you continue to defend Geno Smith, but you continue to rip on JPJ. This Raiders coaching staff is lost, and I don't blame any player. I don't blame anybody out there for losing faith in them because, quite frankly, I think you're an idiot right now if you believe in Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly based on what they have done for the Las Vegas Raiders.